In Russian? No, French. English. Today, yes. Today is how the Frierdiker Rebbe called Chag HaChagim. The rest was a quarter after 2 on Tesvov Sivan, and he came from Kostroma to Tori the day after he was sent on far spreading Yiddishkeit, came Yud Tammuz. Mean the whole rest, and to say this his freedom was also Lamaylam Vidarki. Those who read the Rishimot of the Meiser and the Rebbe, I saw this in Russian, I mean this was in Hebrew always, but was in Russian. Could see, feel and understand the Tzores and Yisurim that was during this time. Everything is bad, and after, and when he was interrogated, they gave him a petek to go to a certain room. When he was going, and he has to turn it right, he decided that he take a rest. In the meantime, was going a sailor, and he stopped by him and asked him from where you are. He told him from Lubavitch. Lubavitch? My childhood was in Lubavitch. And you know, he told you what I remember? That it was to Beorot של מים, אצל החוצר של לבביץ' ואצל הכומר. אז הכומר, the Pope don't give the permission to come take water.
Well, from the well?
From the well. And Lubavitch, it was open for all people. So I remember when I was a child that was coming to Lubavitch, or the open Lubavitch, with hammers, take water, buckets. Okay, then after speaking for some time, he told him, and what you doing there? Told him, I don't know. I really don't know why I'm here. I didn't do nothing criminal. And he told me, and to which room you go, give him the petek. He looked on the petek and, what? We send you in this room? Can we? Tell me, please tell me the truth. What you did? He was shaking when he saw the petek. I said, I don't know. No, it's something wrong here. You know, stay this a while. I'll go and find out. Maybe it's some mistake. What it was? The petek it was a chamber that coming to the chamber, they are shooting people. He was already sent to be shot. But after when the sailor came, and he made how to say in English, Patuno, Marash, what happened? What did the rabbi, which criminal? So they tried the NKVD that he should be Rahman Islam straight, short, and that's it. Nobody will know about it. So this, what he made him, stopped the whole thing about Shlomo. I mean, also his father, Rebbe Rashab, was telling him on his birthday, basically Shalos Hasidut, and he told him that Hashem should help, that in your birthday you should say Hasidut v'sheyiyeh b'chesed u'brachamim. And in the prison, he met a Jew, not a religion. Anyway, he thought for him a mimer, even he don't understand. So, when also what I like to say, that the Ahavat Israel from the Rabbeim is Ein L'Shayat. Before the arrest came a young man, not a young man, a married man, and told to the Rebbe that his wife have to give birth, but it's very problems. And he asked him abroad. So when he came, after almost 3 weeks, with so many Surim, stories, you know what was his first question? He asked the first question, the first shaila was, what is with the lady that was a problem with to give it? And this was Shnei Mechaim Kesselman. What I mean, the famous Mashpia in Kfar Chabad. And she gave birth for twins, for 2 boys. I mean, the whole arrest and the whole Geulah of the arrest was not only for him, it was for whole Jewish people. Spreading Hasidut. Remendel Futerfas, I think everybody knows his famous Fosit. He was in Lager. And he told us, and he, with the hero from the Rebbe, he came to Samarkand. He told us Rav Mendel was such a person that mostly his upbringing and mostly his work in Avoda was regarding the many matters that was with him in the prison. He told that at the beginning of his prison came to him two people and told him that they like not to irrigate him, but they like to have with him a private conversation. What was the conversation? They told him like this: look, we are professors of Judaic, and we're studying the department of Hasidim and Misnagdim. So we told him, we see that it could be a Misnagdim Sharov. How old is he? 60 years, 70, 75, 5, 10 years is dying, and that's it. Nothing of Judaism. But Hasidim, they told him, is something special people. They don't understand it. They told him like this: it's only one Chassid coming to our city, and the city begin to go. They go, how to say, Chodem, goes
Upside down.
Revolution. Upside down.
we hear that one place is rumors about to make a minion. In another place in the city is something speaking about a mikveh. The third place in the city is speaking about to make a little cheder. They told him, Hasidism is like atomic energy. We couldn't understand what this means. So we asked Emmanuel, so what you answer them? So he told us what I could answer them. They are right. It's really atomic energy. So it was only, I have to say, laughing, smiling only, because the Klippe, the Sita Achara, they caught the emes. This is Hasidim. This is atomic energy would give the light. And this is what Hasidus gave all our Ingelites in whole Russia to be, not only to be as a really Jew with highest, with energy, but also to educate the children. When I came to Wien, when I left Russia, so the Jewish agency bought in the suburb of Wien a special building with a little with a little forest and everything. So, as every Lubavitcher, this little boy was 3 years old. This is my son, and he knows already how to make a brocha, to wash the hand, and also the little short of benching, the high pitum zena. So the rabbi in the Jewish agency, it was a staff then it wasn't a straight flight from Moscow to Tel Aviv. It was a stop in Russia. So the all Russian people who came from Russia, they were brought to the place, staying 2-3 days, and then go to Tel Aviv. I was speaking Hebrew because the Chachamim in Samarkand, they was speaking Hebrew. And it was also, even in Samarkand, was also a few Chachamim. Two of them, even they spoke Yiddish also, because they was studying in the Lubavitcher Yeshiva. So the rabbi asked me, he told me, I like to ask you some private question. Okay, fine. Tell me, please. I'm looking, you don't have even a gray hair in your beard. I'm looking, the girl that was 7 years was already benching, davening. The boy of 3 years was already see some brothers. Who is it? So already 3 generations under the communist dictatorship. So how it comes? I met here, he told me, some elderly people learned in Shiva, some people learned in Cheder, but you, such a young man. So I told him, with Harav, are you know about the Baal Shem Tov? Told me yes. Do you know about Mesiras Magid? Oh yes. So I told him the whole Shalshelet of the Rabbi, including the previous Rebbe. So this is what Hasidut give out to all Hasidic people, the highest, the strength, and this is the life, but that not only we are people who performing Torah mitzvot, but even the children also continue the Shalshelet. Told me. Was quiet, but I told him, do you understand it? Told me yes. I also like, it's some episodes in life that you remember. When I was flying from Moscow, with me was a Jew that told me that he came from Australia to meet me. So, Shabbos after the Suda, I take this boy chick and we walked out from the door to make a little walk by the forest. Then I saw staying a Jew, very nice, dressed, but with a big cigar in mouth, Shabbat. Okay, when I see that he having a cigar in mouth, I decided not to touch him. I mean, something, if it is in a Jewish place, with a cigar, Shabbat, so I was waiting some siba, how to begin with him a conversation. What I did, I took this boy and they are walking and looking on him, on their face. One time I was looking, a second time, a third time. Then he told me, in good Yiddish, what are you looking at me? Because I'm smoking Shabbat? Oh, he began this way. I told him, yes. No, it's a place with Russian people coming first place in freedom. First place to see a little bit Yiddishkeit, Jewishness. So, I mean, here in a Jewish place, to smoke at Shabbat. So this really wondering me. Because what? You'll tell me how I should behave, my behavior? We still remember the mice of Yosel. I don't know if somebody of you know the mice of Yosel. Schumacher, yes. Yeah, that, I mean, in short terms, to say this was
Russia, they knew this story?
in the Russian papers was there, but this was from Australia. But when I read the Russian paper, I told this everything is shaker, because I know this in Russia, Emmet couldn't be. Everything is shaker at all. So I was quiet. You making the conflicts among our nation. I was cool. Then we how to see when he all his team gave out and came to him closer, put my hand on the shoulder and told him, gentlemen, let me tell you something. Do you know that I'm only this the first Shabbat in the free world? Told me, no, I don't know. Because I was a little weird. This is a second story that I would like to say. Do you, this boy, do you know that he never tested what is naknik? Why? Because in Russia wasn't there. And not kosher, we will not eat. Do you know how that our wives and the children, when we was lighting the candles, they were walking around there of Shabbat to see if it's no a suspicious person around us. Do you know how it was difficult to bring a chicken? Because we have to go, it was a new city and an old city in Russia. It's in the Uzbekistan, in this area, is two cities that we have to go to the market to buy a chicken or how it's called from Holland. They are big
Turkey.
Turkey to take this in the tramway. And sometime in the middle of the Nisia, the chicken make kokareku, and then came the conductor and taking you straight out of the tramway, out. It's not allowed. And then to go back to the shochet, to bring home, how to see, zu flicken, wie sagt man zu flicken, the turkey, huh? Take out the feathers. And then, not like we have here, Baruch Hashem, you go in store and you're buying gesalzene, gewegte, you have to be soldered, you have to be then to waken, till it's come to your mouth, so it's take hours till we could have a kosher cheese in mouth. And then I told, holding the hand of his shoulder, I told, and you should know that I'm educated as a Chosid of Lubavitch. And the philosophy of Lubavitch, that all people, we are big neshama. And despite of everything, I love you because you are part of me and I'm a part of you. You know what it was? He took the cigarette, זרק על האדמה, ואמר לי, young man, I like to repeat the opposite. That if all the wrong people will go with this way like you, then there wouldn't be any conflicts in between our people. This was. And regarding the beard, I also like to say these few episodes in life. It was from Tashkent, a young man, Lipa Klein is his name, and he was a big Talmud Chochem. He was a store of books, but in Russia wasn't private stores from the city. So, and he was holding a sefer, and always was studying, learning. So, then, when he came to Moscow, it was a law that you have to bring Sforim only if it has, if you saw like Vilnius Gemara, they have a name that is, it's allowed with the censor. Only Sforim, which is what with the censor. And then to come to Lenin Bibliothek with the list, and then he gave you a stamp that is, you could take, and then come to the inspector. So he came to the inspector, it was a basement of kilometers. So the inspector took the list and began to look this for it. Take 1, 2, 3, make a pile of 15 for it. And it was a high pile. And he took a sefer to make other pile. But he didn't took. He took a sefer and זרק על הארץ. אז הוא אמר לו, what do you think? It's a holy sefer. It's not allowed to, like this, לזרוק ככה. You know what he told him? He told the young man, with your temperament, and your religions, I'm wondering why you're not bearing a beard. So this come to me, it was what I have here before I left Russia, and I was with a little beard, and I came to you. Regarding Mendel Futterfass, as I told before, everything that he saw in the lager, he would make this in a water. I don't know if you heard, but even if you heard about this, it's a very, very good symbol for us. In lager, wasn't allowed to play in courts, no courts, klafim. Cards. And it was a chamber special for the people from the criminal people. And the Shomer was very anxious to know what they're doing now. So it was a big door with how to say, to look in a hole in the door. You take a look in the hole. They playing cards. Only playing cards. So they'll give them a punishment. Once I came to the door, a big iron door, a big key, open, key, nothing. He searched them, Not. Okay, so he came out. In 15 minutes, he liked to know, see again. He come again, I came again to the door, open. No. This was 3 times. After 3 times, he came around and told to the Hebrew, I'm promising you that you wouldn't be punished. But tell me, what's the secret? I'm looking, I see a blinking card. I coming, nothing. I searching, nothing. So then one of them told me like this. They have a special person. There's go a special by the Ganovin school. How wie sagt man das auf Englisch? A pickpocket. And they had a school. It's a jacket with everything. Mit Rimonim.
Bells.
Bells. And bells on a, wie sagt man Kukule?
And a down.
On a doll. On a doll. And he should take out something and put, and the Rimonim shouldn't be ringing. So when we saw the first time that he opened the door, he came to the door, was all the cards was in his hand and put in your pocket. So you looking, you don't have. When you go to the door, again by the door, taking out. So the whole time was like this. So then Reb Mendel told us, what is the meaning in Avoda? Then it was, I don't remember, maybe it was Elul, Tishrei time, I don't remember. So no, when it come Elul, Tishrei, Achsidishri in German, we have to make a cheshbon a Nefesh. So what is the first time he looking? What's in yen? What is in the
Pockets, someone else.
the pocket of somebody? What is in his pockets? They forgetting that first thing he has to see his own pockets, not the pocket of somebody else. This was from the thing that was in my mind.
We can have sticker again.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
And we're gonna have a hefsek for Ma'ariv, and then we're gonna have a hemshech Bezras Hashem right after Ma'ariv. So we need 10 people in this place because there's a yard site. Huh? And I'm gonna double
this area.
No.
Okay, that's it.
Now there's another meaning right here.
Amen. 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 Angela. Amen. 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 So I saw this. You think good habits, damit good habits. Wenn ich das verstehe, das ist ein Redekunde. Guck mal nach.
Danke.
Whoever wants a paper for association. Let's go. Now we're going to study Shtikl from Maimer Pasar Sheyeshvin. The paper that you got has the whole Maimer besides 3 lines. So the Mashpia is going to read the first 3 lines, and then you follow on Amud Kufman Tes. Yeah, okay, Kufman Tes.
The first 3 lines. Mesiras sheyeshvim v'aiskim b'teira shchina shvuya b'neim. 10 people are sitting together. Association raised in the Torah, Shkina Shruya B'neihem. 10 people are sitting together and learning Torah. The Shkina rests amongst them. Shnema, Elakim Nitzav Badas Keil. The Ibisha stands in an Eda congregation, and Rashi says that an Eda means 10 people. Minayin Afilu Chamisha. What about if there's only 5 people sitting together? Is also Shnema Vagudas Al Eretz Yisoda. The Pasuk says the word Aguda. Aguda means 5 people. As Rashi, Rambam, Rabbi Yehuda say, so therefore 5 people are in the also. Uminayin Afilu Shloisha. Now we're on page Kufmentes. Kufmentes. Now we have the 2 papers. Uminayin Afilu Shloisha. How do we know if we need 3 people? The Shkin is there. Shenema Bakele Belekim Yishvay. Belekim referring to a base unit. It's called a Lekim. Includes 3 people. Uminayin Afilu Shnaim. How about 2 people? It's also Shenema. Oz Nidberu Yir Hashem Ish El Re'ehu Vayakshiv Hashem Vayishma. Ish El Re'ehu, one man with his friend, that's 2 people, is also the Shkin is with him. Uminayin Afilu Echad. How about 1 person learning by himself? It's Shenema B'chol Mokim Asher Asker Shmi. Even wherever you're going to mention my name, meaning Hashem's name, even if you're learning by yourself, is I'm going to come there and I'm going to give you a bracha. V'hainu, says the Filik Rebbe, the Baal HaGeula, even if 1 person is learning by himself, he is able to bring down Gilu Elokus. Umikol Mokeh. Even though we said that 1 person is also enough, nevertheless there is a difference between 1 person learning or a rabbi. Many people learn. The rabbi, if there's a multitude of people, is then they are able to draw down a higher level. Maybe tefillah, just like we find by davening. If a people together, if there's a minion together, people are davening together, it never gets despised. The tefillah is always received. Shenema hein keil kaver lo yimas. Shaharabim b'tfilosa. When there's many people together davening, mamshichi b'chinas yud gimel midas arachmi. That's what we see here that there's a specialty when there's many people together. When there's a minion, that draws down the 13 midas arachmi. It's just like it is by davening to make ali de Torah v'Rabbi. The same thing when we learn together. Torah with a minion is nimsha gilui or elyon yosef. There's a higher gilui that's being brought down into the world. The hine, where do we see this connection, this parallel between davening and learning? We said davening is mamshech yidbis and Torah is also mamshech and oir elyon. So what's the connection between davening and learning? The hine, we see clearly that Bishmol Bishmol says we're able to expound the Torah in the 13 midas, so the price that we say every day before Hoidu. And it starts off with Bakal V'chayim V'gzera Shov V'chulu. So there's 13 midas how to expound the Torah. Yes, you could give a midas Shabahem V'al Yodem Bisgalis Oir HaTorah. There's 13 ways of bringing down the Gilui of Torah. Behind the whole middle ayut givul midas shater redeshes behem ulimud chodesh. Every single midah brings down a new type of learning. Kavachayim is one type, Gzeir is another type. Altogether, 13 different ways. Ukamoy midah rishayna shi kavachayim. Let's take the first one, which is kavachayim. Hinehu melamed inyan chodesh b'Torah teaches a new concept in Torah. Is imkain hareze mocher haTorah. If the Kavachayim can teach us a new Indian in Torah, that means it is a source for Torah. Masha megalin inyonim chadash b'Torah. This brings out new things in Torah. The Haina, that means to say the whole midah or midah. Every single one of these 13 midas is megalin or haTorah. Begilu, if you properly say, reveals more details of Torah, more Torah, and more details. The time hadava. How comes the 13 midas of Torah bring out new things in Torah? Because these 13 attributes of expounding Torah are connected. The 13 are parallel to the 13 midas arachim, and we find the Mesiras explained The Kasha Hiski Moshe Rabbeinu Midah Rishayna. When Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned the first of the midas, Yudgim Midas Arachim, Shehu Shem Kale. When Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned the first midah, which is Kale, like we say, Hashem Shem Kale Rachim V'Chanim, Kale is the first one. When did Moshe Rabbeinu mention it? In the pasuk, it's Moshe said by Miriam. It says, "The Moshe ben Shvibase Omar, Kale no Rafon Allah. Please heal Miriam." So he used the word Kale. As soon as he said the word Kale, we find an interesting thing. What was the reply from the Hashem? Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kal V'Chomer. He said the Hashem replied with the Kal V'Chomer. Yechsiv Vayem Hashem El Moshe Alei Shikolim Shivas Yamim V'Omer Azal Kal V'Chomer L'Shchina. The reply was that she has to be locked away for 7 days. And we learned this out through a Kal V'Chomer. So you see that the first of the Yud Midas that we expound Torah is parallel to the Yud Midas Arachim. As soon as he mentioned Kale, says the Maggid, immediately we had a Kal V'Chomer. Hare, Shalidei, Yud Midas Arachim, Nimshachim, Yud Midas Shabbatayla. So we see that they go together. When you have Yud Midas Arachim, you also mamshich the Yud Midas Shabbatayla. Behind it, just like through the Shem Kale came about the Gili of Kal V'Chomer, it works the other way around as well. So each one has an effect on the other one. If a person learns Torah, he draws down Yud Midas Arachim. If he draws down Midas Arachim, he's revealing Torah. Both go together. And to prove this, the Frierdiker Rebbe also brings down here another medrash where we see that Torah and Tefillah run together. It says, "V'zeh shomra azal al pasuk haroya b'Shoshanim." It's a pasuk in Shir Hashirim that says the word Shoshanim, Yidna compared to a Shoshana meaning a rose. It says the medrash, "Al tika Shoshanim ela Shoshanim b'halachos." Azal tell us that Shoshana, you can darshan the word to mean Shoshanim b'halachos, those who learn halachos, in other words, learning Torah. So now we've translated Shoshana as meaning learning Torah. But on the other hand, in the Zohar it says, "Man Shoshana do Knesset Yisrael." Who is the Shoshana? Who is this rose? This is Yidden. Ma Shoshana ispa kleise alam. Just like a Shoshana has 13 petals on the rose, is Uf Knesset Yisrael ispa kleise mechilin derachmin. So too Yidden have 13 attributes of mercy, which surround it from all sides. So basically what the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying is, in a nutshell, that when we learn Torah and Tefillah are parallel to each other. Just like the Yud Gimel Midas Arachim, the Yud Gimel Midas Shatayim Nidreshes B'Hem. And we see that clearly from the Torah of the Maggid said that as soon as Moshe Rabbeinu mentioned the first midah of Yud Gimel Midas Arachim, which is Shem Kale, immediately Hashem replied with the Kal V'Chomer. So you see that this midah brings about this midah. If you have Shem Kale in Yud Gimel Midas Arachim, you receive a Kal V'Chomer in Yud Gimel Midas Shatayim Nidreshes B'Hem. Says if you cover, that means it works both ways. If you learn Torah Barabim, you're going to get also the same effect as Tefillah Barabim. What does Tefillah Barabim accomplish? You have a higher level. You're able to draw down the Yud Gimel Midas Arachim. It's the same thing through Torah Barabim. You're also able to manage to draw down a higher level, higher than Ishtalshnus. So basically, this is the whole thrust of the mind that the Frierdiker Rebbe wants to encourage the union of Libud Torah Barabim. But although you can learn on your own, and the Mishnah says clearly that even if there's one person learning by himself, the Shekhinah is with him, but you cannot compare that to the fact that there's a million of people, you have Hashras HaShekhinah on a much higher and greater level, just like by davening, when you have a million, it's a higher level. That's the stuff over there. Further, what do you want to do? So maybe we finish off the last 3 lines of the Maimah.
Last few lines on the Maimah.
Page Kufran base, just finish off the last base. We'll start the last few lines. The line begins about 7 lines from the end of the page. Before the end of page base, the line begins the Hamshah. The Hamshah here, the Kusar I delivered that Torah and the Anash last. So here he says it continues. The line begins the Hamshah. About 7 lines before the end of the page. The Hamshach Hilalukus. Towards the end of the line, it says, Rak. Sheyesh Hefresh ben Yochid Rabim. He's repeating the same idea. The Koyach Harabim Odif Yosef. There's many people together has a much stronger effect. If 10 people are learning together Torah, the Shekhinah rests. Shehi Torah harabim. Specifically, we're talking about when there's a rabbi. Even one person is also has Hashras Hashkina. Here the Fidik Rebbe is adding on another point to learn with somebody else. When a person gives staka, benefesh, that means he teaches somebody else, is a shadidei zeh, nasim moiche v'li b'zakim elef ba'omim kafa. This is a quotation from the Putei Torah, that if a person gives staka, whether it's physical staka, money, or if he gives staka ruchnis, also his mind and heart becomes zakim, becomes purified, it becomes more edel, 1,000 times as much. We'll get into that in a second. He's able to draw down from the source of all brachas. It's interesting that the Rebbe has many letters in Igros Kodesh where he quotes this line that we just said from Torah, from the Alter Rebbe, where if you give tzedakah, and the Rebbe mentions that when he tells this over to people, he says this is not a guzma. There's a lot of times you have in Chazal, you have that they say something. The Gemara talks about that Chazal sometimes say a lashon of guzma, that means an exaggeration. Right? You have this in Masechtas Talmud, for example, it says that there was a very heavy piece of gold in the Beis Hamikdash which needed 300 kohanim to pick it up. The Gemara says it's an exaggeration. Some people say this for real, some people say it's exaggeration. There is such a thing, like even in Psukim you have the same thing. You have that they saw buildings, Bashamayim, like we say also in English, you say skyscrapers. You're scraping the sky, how high is this building? Even if you double the Twin Towers, you're not going to get to the sky. Nevertheless, we call it that. It's a Lashon B'nai Adam, we speak in an exaggerated form. But on this line, the Rebbe says, Zakim Elef Merach is not an exaggeration. How is that possible? How is that possible? That if you give tzedakah, your mind becomes more edel 1,000 times as much. So the Rebbe always points to, if you see in the Ha'ara, it brings down, because the Torah Yom Pasha says Torah Shmuel, and it's a minor from the Rebbe Marash, where the Rebbe Marash actually explains how it could be in a simple sense. But I've seen it with Gashmias. It's a certain great one of our Rabbi Sharov. I don't know if I might have to, if I should mention his name, I don't know. But he wasn't originally so smart, shall we say. And he was not, he's now Boki B'Shas, and he writes Svarim. And he says his Atzlocha was from giving tzedakah. He gave physical tzedakah, not just tzedakah ruchnis, physical tzedakah. That's what the Rebbe told him to do. The Rebbe mentioned this, and he always is misyageya. He works very hard at giving tzedakah, and it has an effect. And did he have it all up? I had a story with a bacha in yeshiva some years ago. It's an Israeli bacha. He came complaining that nothing stays in his head. Talking about 19, 20-year-old bacha, and he says he's trying to learn smicha. He's learning with his chavrusa, and whatever it says on the sefer, his chavrusa has to teach him because he doesn't get it himself. And then shortly after that, it's gone. It doesn't remain. So I'm thinking, what can I can't help there's an expression of Chassidus, a kop kemenish darufstel. You can't add to his brains. But this Eitzah came to mind. Yeah, you can fix his head. So I told him the story of the Tzemach Tzedek to explain this point. There's a Maaseh of the Tzemach Tzedek. There was somebody once, a very simple man, who came to Lubavitch and wasn't expecting to get the Yechidus straight away. That's for definite. And all of a sudden he hears the Gabbai come out from the Tzemach Tzedek's room saying, let's call him Yankel. Where's Yankel from this and this town? She's calling me, jumps up, I'm Yankel from this and this town. Come inside, the Rebbe wants to see you. He's a simple Yankel, what does the Rebbe want to see him for? So he goes into the room, and the Tzemach Tzedek starts quizzing him. What do you do for a living? What exactly do you do? So when do you daven, when do you learn? And he's asking questions, details, and it seems that Tzemach Tzedek is not done yet. He's asking more questions. And finally, says, anything special? What do you do with your mind? Well, like mice, and besides mice, do anything else? He says, well, actually, I heard a mimer from you. Tzemach Tzedek. And you said once a mimer, I only remember the Divar Maskell in the first line or two of the mimer, I don't understand more than that. But I remember you said a mimer in Kesef Talve Es Ami. In Kesef Talve Es Ami, if you lend Es Ami, my people, if you lend my people money, etc. And you brought down the notion of the Medrash that says in the Pasuk, Es Ami, my people, which if you change around in the Kudas, it can be read as At Imi, you are with me. Imi Bibichitzos, you're with me. If you lend people money, you're with me. So I started a gemach. I didn't need to borrow any money, but I borrowed money in order to lend other people money. And so it goes around in a circle till it comes back to me, and then we go around in circles, lending each other money. Some people need it, so it helps people. And once he told this to the Tzemach Tzedek said, oh, now I understand. And afterwards, the Tzemach Tzedek said, I don't know who too, he said, I saw on this chassid, the expression of the Sikha is, from the Fidik Rebbe, is an oil netzal of chesed datzilus was shining on this person. This is not a simple description of what's it. This is just from lending money, making loans to other people to help somebody out. That's how great. You're with me if you lend somebody money. So I told this to this bacher, and I said, do a gemach with your friends. The bacher would be money the whole time, even just a loan for a short amount of time to buy themselves a pair of shoelaces, who knows what. So, so he started doing that. Approximately a half a year later, he says to me, it worked. It says, not only do I understand what my chavus is teaching me, but I've started teaching him. So it works. You want to have Meiche V'Liba Zakim Tacha, just lend people money or give people money, and that's what it says, and it's not a guzma. The Rebbe does says, although the Rebbe does mention the letter, it doesn't mean to say you can sit back and not learn and say, well, Tacha, 1,000 times more smart. I don't have to sit and learn. No, it doesn't mean that. It means what you could accomplish in 1,000 hours, you can now accomplish in 1 hour. You still have to work hard. You still have to learn. Anyway, that's going to get to the last thing.
Zero.
That's not, no, we're not talking about zero. You have to learn something.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, fine. This is
Can I say a little something?
Okay, please just your attention. I would like to use the Koyach HaTzibur, you basically know Tammuz, to Itchem B'Yizvadustchem, Friedrich Rebbe writes in the letter with you in Farbrengen, to bench the daughters of Shleman and produce a son for the daughters of our dear friend Chamus Uli. I would like him to say the names.
First was
Twin girls.
and
They're still in the hospital. One of them.
came out already, but the one now it's NICU, and she need the lungs, good help of the lungs to make press normal. Not the assistant with the oxygen. Her name is Nessa Ishea Emuna Tita Bat Halawa. Vegam also his sister, because she did gather more heard about the eyes. She did something, but she had surgery. See, her name is the sister twin is Nili Yohana Tikvat Aki Bat Halawa.
For Shlema, this is the time together for Shlema, Roba Tekef Miyad Mamish. Ay da 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 ay da da la ya la da da my ay da da la ya why oh ay da ay ba la ya la da da ay ay why ay da Hey,
We'll ask Rabbi Yonim Malachowski to tell us a memory of Mesiras Nefesh that he remembered when he was a child, or anything, because a small thing back then for us is a big thing. Anything you remember of Mesiras Nefesh in Samarkand, in your by your parent, by anybody you remember, please share with us. If you want, we can sing another niggin, whatever you tell us.
Wir bei dem im die
In Samarkand, was mir doch leider nicht kennen,
English, please, English.
Oh,
So in Samarkand, we couldn't go with a minion.
man, we didn't attend 20 years the official school. Why? Because if a young man coming in school, those days, I think today also, it wasn't any official school. There shouldn't be agent from NKVD. So if a young man coming in school, they began research where you're working, from where you are, fully. The last year in the 60s, it was dying Abu Hara Sharid, our Shotan, and we asked he should make a Savoy that he liked, that when he go, should be a meaning in the morning, very early, because before the work, you have to go work. It was one time I was playing at home in Townsville, and I don't know how it was. Maybe the Balabosta forgot to close the door. And when I was in Townsville, came a lady to check our electricity. And every person who is coming to check gas, electricity, and everything, always we were suspicious this agent from the KGB. I was sitting in Townsville, and then I saw a lady is coming. It was about 7 o'clock. The gas trembled and ran to the bedroom. My Balabosta was there. She asked her, what is this? Why is he running? And what is what is his clothing, something. She told him, no, he is a little bit. Oh, yeah? Okay, then it was fun. I like to say that Santanya that the high people from KGB, they know what is Hasidim and what is the power of Hasidim. In the end of 70, in the beginning, it was a committee in Moscow from high generals of KGB, and they, because everybody of us was giving his papers for 10, 11 years to get a visa to go to Israel. So the committee was on the spot deciding what to do with the person. It was one person, I know if he is alive, about Shula, Moreh of mathematics. He was in Nachal Zarchabad. And he was from the first people who attended the committee. And it was before Pesach. And told that he liked to go for Pesach to Israel. So one of them thought, okay, you'll go in a few weeks. He told, what? In a few weeks? I like to go on Passover, on Pesach. So then stands up one of the people, the other civil. Are you a Chosid? He told him, I'm not a Chosid, but I try to be a Chosid. And told him, okay, you'll go off Pesach. And in a week he was leaving Russia.
Oh, yeah.
This was the Zelum Zeos Elikim. Zelum Zeos Elikim. We know, the high people know that Hasidim, these people, what you can change them. And if this is opposite, so it's like I was told before, this is some special atomic energy, some special life, some special understanding, and it could be changed. That's it. Нет, нет никого, кроме него.
Yeah.
So this last week there was a study brought out against the institutions, against the yeshivas, and so we have a cooperation over here. So I just want to give a proper to the truth over there that the study should leave, that all the yeshivas just get more and more money, and that we that they help with money to educate the Bochum the way we learn it, the way it's been done for thousands of years. It's appropriate for this population.
One of the inyanim that the Frierdiker Rebbe said about his ruler, he said that the way he was able to make it through this terrible ordeal was because Rosh Hashanah of that year, he mentioned during saying the Maimon of Rosh Hashanah, he mentioned the Shitta of the Baal Shem Tov in Hashgacha Pratis. I mean to say that he mentioned something while he was saying the Maimon, which didn't really have any connection. If you look now in the Maimon of Rosh Hashanah, Tafish Pizan, you will not find that piece of the Maimon, which means to say sometimes that Rabbeim say things while they're saying Maimorim, and not necessarily does it have a direct connection, because while saying a Maimon, through saying certain things, they're able to be poil in Yonim Lamaila and Lamata. But going back to what we were speaking about before, the Benjamin was speaking about with the Mesiras Nefesh, Stammer, you can recall better than any of us, the Mice of Toshin Yud Gimel. And there was the doctor's plot. And in Purim, Toshin Yud Gimel, the Rebbe said a Maima during the Farbrengen of Purim, and then they thought it was all over with. Usually there's one Maima per Farbrengen. But then all of a sudden they saw the Rebbe becoming more serious. He told over the story about the Chassid who was asked to vote for the next, what was he voting for? The next, not the king, the Tsar. The Tsar. No, he was supposed to vote. Wasn't the Tsar? Yeah. And he didn't know of anything. He was told to vote. The Rebbe said to vote, so he went to vote. And he puts on his glasses to vote because the Rebbe said he was totally mufshid. And after they finished voting, everybody screamed hurrah. I think in English we say hooray, but it seems in Russian they said hurrah. So everybody said hurrah 3 times. So he also said it. And the Rebbe was repeating this, and the Rebbe said 3 times, hurrah, hurrah. And everybody realized and joined in. And then the Rebbe suddenly started saying the Maimah. How can Purim Hashem Hapur? And the Rebbe started explaining the whole inyan of Purim, and finished off with the words. And the Maimah was that Mocha Emcha Zecha Molik. I'm going to finish off. I'm going to finish him off. Destroy the name of Amalek. And all of a sudden, back there in Russia, there was news that what's his name? Yimach Shemai had a bit of an accident. He's not feeling too well. Then it was Niskala. He was really not feeling well. Then it was Niskala that he was Taka Ois. Yeah, he really was gone immediately, but they had to do it in slow motion.
The guard was afraid to get into the room to check if he's there.
What's that?
The guard was afraid to get into the room to check if he's still alive. He was so scared of him. Even the closest people, they were so
Right. Right. So that's how the Rabbeim did things with Maimorim. Which, by the way, they say a similar thing happened in, I think, in the Lammets. I don't remember which year in the Lammets, and I don't remember who the president was at the time, but there was a certain president that wasn't very, should we say, a great friend of Yidden. and had planned to make a drasha at a certain time, let's say 9 o'clock. He had planned to make a speech against Eretz Yisrael, against Yidden, Eretz Yisrael. And the speech was planned for a certain time, and the Rebbe decided that night, all of a sudden, he's going to say and make a fabring. And you can actually hear, I heard the tape once, you can hear that the Rebbe stops in the middle of the niggin before the mimer. The Rebbe doesn't let them finish. The Rebbe immediately starts saying the mimer, because it seems it was on that exactly 9 o'clock, whatever it was, time was, now the speech is, and that's when the Rebbe started saying the mimer. And at the same time, in Washington, where the speech was supposed to be taking place, those days didn't have electric things, they only had papers. He comes to the podium, starts taking his papers, he gets all mixed up, it's like, doesn't mixed up. I could say his whole drasha against Eretz Yisrael was misfallen. He wasn't able to make the drasha. Meanwhile, in 770, the Rebbe was busy saying a mimer. That's how the Rabbeim did things. There was recently printed out a fascinating story from the Filik Rebbe that it was printed together with the mimer from the Filik Rebbe some weeks ago, some months ago, that there was a Meiser with the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe had a Chassid, I don't know his name, let's call him Rabbi Yankel. And Rabbi Yankel was a businessman, and he used to travel to Karlin, so for business. And the Alter Rebbe said to him, when you're in there, why don't you pop into the Rebbe over there, the Karliner Rebbe, I think it's Aaron or Pshon, I don't know who's who, pop into the Rebbe, Karliner Rebbe, and tell me what you see. I want to hear some news. So he goes on his business trip, and when he arrives there, he hears that the Karliner is about to break. He's been fasting for 3 days. He's going to break his fast now, and all the Chassidim are gathered. Mistama is going to say something. So the Chassid said, "Oh, this is Mistama what the Alter Rebbe wants." So he runs to the house, to wherever it was going to take place, and he watches. And in the table was laid out with wonderful stuff, just like here. But there was also some sweet honey cake on the table, and it was placed in front of the Rebbe. And as I said, it was a sweet piece of honey cake. He goes to make a mazonos, break his fast after so many days. He makes a mazonos, starts eating the cake. Then he makes a face. He says, "Something's wrong with the cake. It's bitter. How can honey cake be bitter?" And he starts taking up. Good, no good. Who baked this cake? There's only one baker in the house. He says, "What? The Rebbe." So he says, "Call her here." It's in front of everyone. Chos is watching, making a fuss about cake. Never seen this with the Alter Rebbe, making a fuss about a piece of honey cake. Anyway, so she comes walking in all worried, what's going on? And the Karina says to her, what's going on with the cake? Why, it's bitter. She says, I tried my best. I put in the honey in it. It's nothing wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong. No, it's no good. And for such honey cake, for such baking, I think that, and he says the word divorce. Everybody's shocked over a piece of honey cake, which tastes good, and he's shouting at his wife in front of everyone. He thought there was some type of Purim spiel going on over it. And she gets very upset. She starts crying. All of a sudden, one of us came in. I don't know if it was related or not, or himself, I don't know who it was. Comes over to the cake, takes a piece of cake, and he says, Rebbe, it's taka not as sweet as it should be. It's a little bit bitter, but that's not grounds for divorce. It's not that bad. It's okay. It's actually quite good. It's actually quite good. As soon as he said that, the Kalina's face lit up. He says, Azay, he's good. He starts singing and he's happy. This has gone from one extreme to the other. This Chos is watching, and he's some type of putting. I don't know what's going on. He was ashamed to repeat this to the Alter Rebbe, such a story. But when he comes back home after his business deal, he comes back home, and the Alter Rebbe calls him in. The uncle, what happened in Kalim? So he says, nothing much, business is fine. Trying to get out of it, but the Alter Rebbe is forcing him to say what happened. So finally he says, oh, this is what happened, this is what I saw, what can I tell you? So the Alter Rebbe says, the first station, you don't understand what's going on. He said, why do you think the Rebbe was fasting? The Khalid was fasting for 3 days. there was a gzeira against Yidden that are doing Torah mitzvahs, aber es ist truken, and this is bitter. They're doing it because they have to. They're doing it out of, it's automatic, and they're not putting their heart and soul into it. And therefore it's bitter. And then because of this, they became a shtickle gzeira. She's trying to move out with the gzeira. And he was playing this gzeira out in front of everyone. Barabim, maybe this is the Asalosh Yeshua. He's doing it in front of Barabim, and he calls in his wife. You have to understand that the husband and his wife represents the Eibishter and Yidden. The whole Shiashim is based on that. Yidden are the wife, the Kala, and the Chadaydi Dikras Kala, the Daidi is the Eibishter. So he calls in the Kala, he calls in his wife, and he says, it's bitter, it's no good. This is not the way it's supposed to be. So she gets all upset, and then somebody came along with Malamed Schus. Somebody said, it's not exactly as sweet as it should be, but it's good. It's not grounds for divorce. In other words, it's not grounds for this terrible Kseiv. And that's how he was Mavachel. And that's afterwards he was so happy somebody had the brains to be Mavachel and say, this Chassid, it seems, was not stupid. So he says to the Alter Rebbe, he says, I understand now, and I understand that Kalin is a big Rebbe, but how comes we don't see these types of things going on over here? Don't see the Alter Rebbe shouting at the Rebbe about honey cakes. So the Alter Rebbe's reply was, we accomplish the same thing, but through Chassidus, through a mimer. So that's what happened in Tafshin Gimel. The Rebbe says a mimer and does away with what's his name, Tafshin, whatever it is. Then there was this other one with the president. These are the stories that we know about. We know Tafshin Gimel. It's a printed mimer, and it's rumors there in the Pesach Dover that it was connected with this Gzeira, with this what's his name, and then I'm trying not to say his name. And then there was in the later the Lamed, there was the president who was also saying Yisrael, and the Rebbe said a mimer, and he got his papers mixed up. And now there, so we have no idea other things that the Rebbe does, and we don't know about it because there's no spiel over there, there's no honey cake going on. But the Rebbe is saying a mimer, and he's doing things. This is what it says in Ayom Yom. Each Rebbe had a mimer to purify the air. Air conditioners, the Rebbe's Rabbeim have air conditioners. They say a mimer, and the metaher so'av, the mezakeh ve'av. Sometimes they will repeat the same mimer over and over again. Different places. They came to a certain place and said a mimer. Maybe the masu would be different, but the take would be the same. The Rebbe Marash had one mimer which is repeated at least 10, 20 times. It's different in different versions, but it's the same idea. And this way he was purifying the air. And this is the same thing, Benegea. So, Benegea in your name, Benegea to Yiddish Tammuz, your basic Yimel Tammuz, the Fidik Rebbe said, if he wouldn't have mentioned in the Maimah of Rosh Hashanah the Shitta of the Baal Shem Tov in Hashgacha Pratis, he doesn't know how he would have been able to make it through the whole ordeal. So he mentions in the Maimah about the Shitta of the Baal Shem Tov. So what we have to understand is what was this Shitta of the Baal Shem Tov that he mentioned in the Maimah? What is the Shitta of the Baal Shem Tov Hashgacha Pratis? What is different? The Baal Shem Tov Shitta, Ma Nishtana, Shittas of Baal Shem Tov, we call our Shittas. What was Nischadish from the Baal Shem Tov?
The Gzeira itself is
Well, first of all, we know the Baal Shem Tov said, and also the Fidik Rebbe Vanagiel brings it down, that if, for example, you see a leaf blowing off from a tree, turning in the wind and land somewhere, he says every part of that movement of the leaf is Negeya, is Bahashkacha Pratis. This is a Chiddush, because the Gedolei Yisrael beforehand also said everything is Hashgacha Pratis. But Adkei Kach, which way the wind, what difference does it make if the leaf flows this way or that, but anti-clockwise or clockwise? Make a difference. To us, it blows our minds. When we see a wind blow, we see all the grasses move in a certain direction because it makes a difference. This grass, that grass. There's billions and billions of blades of grass. What's the difference? So it blows our minds. We can't understand it. But the Baal Shem Tov said no. The fact that this tissue is over there blowing in the wind like that, that's Hashgacha Pratis. Especially if you learn the Alter Rebbe's Shai Yichud B'Emunah, you see that it's not just it's Hashgacha Pratis, he's watching over it. Hashgacha Pratis is the highest of every detail. The fact that it's able to blow in the wind this direction is because the Chayes Elokei is making it and creating it right now in this direction and not that direction. Why? That's above our minds. Just by way of an example to show how everything is just given make it slightly more realistic. There's a famous story from the Rebbe Rashan that he once asked one of the Chassidim who were very close if he wants to come with him to a museum. He asked him to come with. And where did they go? They went to a museum. In the museum was paintings. Paintings were from famous artists, world-renowned artists. And on the wall was one with the paintings of a certain name, a certain Mesiras, that the name of the artist was Raphael. Yeah, Raphael, yeah. So he was a world-famous artist, and the Rebbe Rashab is standing there with this chassid, and they're watching what's going on. There's a group of students coming to the museum and they're being shown around. And the tourist guide is saying, look at this, look at that, and he's explaining what each one is and who drew it, who is the artist. They come to this famous painting, and the tourist says to the students, this is a world-renowned Raphael. It's a beautiful picture. What do you see in the picture? You see a field, and you can tell in the picture the wind. You can't see wind, right? The wind is not visible, but you can see the wind. Why? Because look at all the grass facing in one direction, and there's a little bird perched on one of the stalks of corn, and it's a beautiful picture. Okay. Standing next to this group of students is a farmer who also decided to take a look in the museum. Simple farmer. And he's standing there and he's looking also at the picture at the same time, and he's going like this. No good. And the students are watching this farmer. He's going to say Venus. He's going to say Deus on this picture. And they're laughing away. He's busy going, no good. And they're saying, anyway, so they decide, let's ask him. Well, they got this big smirk on their faces. Let's ask this farmer, what is the problem with the picture? So they go to him and said, excuse me, sir, we see you're complaining the picture is not good enough. Well, what's wrong with the picture? You don't like it? He says, it's actually a very nice picture, but it's not MS. It's not true. Not true? Another peal of laughter. What do you mean it's not true? This is, who this is? This is Raphael. This is the one of famous. Look at that, beautiful. You can even see the wind blowing. And they're all laughing away. And he says, no, but it's not true. So, why isn't it true? What's wrong with it? He says, you see that little bird over there sitting on that stalk? He says, that bird is a very small bird and a very light bird. So it doesn't have too much weight. But it still has some weight to it. It's not a leaf, it's a bird. And it's sitting on that stalk, and that stalk naturally would have to bend ever so slightly. And Raphael has made it the same position as all the other stalks. It's not emes. All of a sudden, the smiles on the faces of all these students suddenly disappears. The Rebbe Rashab went there especially to see this. He said, here you see that this Ish Pasha, this is a farmer. The Anashim Pshutim have such pushim sometimes, which even the big Chachamim don't have. The big Chachamim think they know it all, but the simple person, he has a certain edelkeit that he was able to chap this, but the others couldn't. Now, what can you see from this story is that the slightest detail makes it either emes or not emes. What are we talking about? We're talking about a few millimeters of a bend on a stalk of wheat or grass, whatever it was. A few millimeters makes the difference. So now we can understand, even in our heads, how those 3 millimeters makes a difference. Either it's a true picture or it's not a true picture. That's just a marshal to understand that if we were the master paintings of Olam Hazeh and all the Olamas, we would understand why the leaf has to go this way and not that. We don't understand it because we're finite people. Obviously, we don't understand. But if we would know the master plan, we'd know the painter's idea, we'd understand that it makes a major difference if it goes this way or that way. And Hashgacha Pratis, it has to go this way and not that. That's Hashgacha Pratis. And this is the Baal Shem Tov says about every single thing in the world, whether it's Shemeach, whether it's Chai, Tzemech, and Daimon, Alachas Kam V'Kam Medaber. That if it's whatever happens to the person, is Bashkacha Pratis, every single detail. Says the Frierdiker Rebbe, when I said the Maim on Rosh Hashanah, I mentioned this Shitta of the Baal Shem Tov that helped me through the Ma'aseh Megillah. How did it help it? And if it wouldn't be the Shittas of Baal Shem Tov, it would also be everything's Hashgacha Pratis. What was it need? What was it necessary to have the knowledge of the Shittas of Baal Shem Tov to help him through the situation? What happened in Beis Tammuz? There's a whole Arichas Dikasicha from the Rebbe on this, explaining why, but it boils down to this: that when the Frierdiker Rebbe went on Mesiras Nefesh, he was not looking to become a Baal Mesiras Nefesh. It's the same Nakuda that the Rebbe brings down on the very first Maimon, the difference between the Mesiras Nefesh of Rabbi Akiva and the Mesiras Nefesh of Avraham Avinu. Rabbi Akiva, when he was being in the middle of being tortured to death, he had a smile on his face. And his Talmidim said to him, "What are you so happy about? Isn't this painful?" He didn't say it's not painful, but he said, "All my life, I'm waiting all my life to be able to come to this ability to be Moshe Nefesh al Kiddush Hashem. And finally I'm reaching this. Shouldn't I be happy?" That was Rabbi Akiva. It's a madrega, it's a very high madrega to look for Mesiras Nefesh. If I'm not mistaken, the Frierdiker, correct if I'm wrong, the Frierdiker ever said to Chassidim during the hard times, he said, "Chaptarai Mesiras Nefesh." It was a situation that you're going to go Mesiras Nefesh. Some people didn't make it back. Some people lost their lives. The mile of Mesiras Nefesh is such a mile of she'en kamoyu. It's impossible to measure such a mile. And Rabbi Akiva wanted this mile, and therefore when he finally was coming to it, he was happy. But there's higher than that. What's the level higher than that? Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was not looking for Mesiras Nefesh. If he has to go Mesiras Nefesh, he's ready for it, but that's not what he was looking for. He wasn't looking for his own Maila, even a Maila Ruchnis. He was looking to do whatever the Eibishter wants. And what was his shlichus in the world? To be mefarsim alakus. That everybody should come to the realization, Einoid Milvada, Hashem Echad, and none of this of serving Avodah Zarah, etc. So that was his shlichus, and that's all he was doing, and that was his kavanah. So if Mesiras Nefesh is necessary, he'll go Mesiras Nefesh, but he wasn't looking for Mesiras Nefesh. He was looking for the mefarsim alakus, and therefore, when he was jailed or was prevented from doing this shlichus, he was upset. He wasn't happy. Oh, I'm going on Mesiras Nefesh. What could be higher than that? He wasn't looking for that. He was looking to fulfill whatever the Eibishter wants. If now requires Mesiras Nefesh to do that, but it bothered him that he was not able to be mefarsim Hashem Echad, the world. And the Frierdiker Rebbe was the same thing. When he was in jail, he was upset. Why? Because during that time, it's making a chalishus in Avodas Hashem. It's a chalishus in the shlichus to be mefarsim alakus. The same Maimon, which by the way, even in jail, he said, "Maimon, this is the one we just did with some a year later." There's one in jail he wrote down. He did in jail. And Avayli Ba'eshi. These are things that the person in jail has time. I'm not talking about a nice, comfortable jail like the American ones. I'm talking about Binyamin can give us a bit of an understanding what these things are. This wasn't a very comfortable place, to put it mildly. And yet he sees his mind is writing Maimonides, and his mind is in other places. So what was upsetting him that he's not able to be mefarsim alakus, chassidus, yahadus, whatever it is. But since he said in the mind of Rosh Hashanah, the Shita of the Baal Shem Tov, that every single detail is b'hashgacha pratis, that gave him the strength that even though he's not able to fulfill his shlichus at this moment, but this also is hashgacha pratis. Even while things are being blocked, there's something going on which you don't understand, or maybe he understood it. There's something going on that is high, which we don't understand. That's good. Something has got sort of the shit of gamzula taiva. Even this, which is not taiv, the taiva nirvanigla. We're not talking about gashmis. Gashmis definitely wasn't good. We're talking about it wasn't good beruchnius. There was a sakona. We have no idea what sakona the Frierdiker Rebbe was in. I'm sure people know that when the Frierdiker Rebbe was going down the hallway, he made a wrong turn. They're aware of that. The Frierdiker Rebbe was sent down the hallway to a certain room, and he made a wrong turn by a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake, obviously it was Hashgacha Pratis, but had he made the turn that he was supposed to make, there wouldn't be the base Thomas left. And by mistake he went the other direction, and that's it. Because they planned something over there down that hallway. And he didn't go there, he ended up a different way. So it was sakonas from every side. And not only that, even when he was told that he's free, he asked on Gimel Tammuz, and it's just before, a few days before Gimel Tammuz, he's told, tomorrow you're going to be free, you can go home, but you have to take a train. You can be in your home for 6 hours, and then you have to go to Kastamar, you have to go on the train. The Fidike asked him, which day am I going to arrive? He said, Shabbos. He says, okay, I'm not going. Because he knew that they were trying to look for a way that they should have him doing something on Shabbos. He said, no, so to stay in jail, the Cholad days was Sakonis Nefashis. And nevertheless, he said, no, I'm staying. That's it, staying. He stayed in jail with the Sakonis, knowing that people there with guns could do anything. And he's staying there, and then he went to Kastamar, and while he was on the way, there was already the famous Chassid that was already building a cheder over there. He was already doing things as the Fidikins. In other words, not only did it stop, it continued even more. They continued to catch, probably even more. But during the time that he was restricted, he had to. You remember the Shittas of Hashem that this itself is Hashgacha Pratis. Even the fact the Rebbe says actually in the Sikh over there that the similar thing happened by the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab also, in his times, as we know, started with Xeris of it was continued, the Xeris of the Haskalah movement. They wanted to, you mentioned before, the Chinuch. It's an interesting thing that's going on now. It seems to be, it never stopped from back then. It just has different forms of the infiltration of the Haskalah movement, or the, I should say, liberal movements, and all these movements that are trying to infiltrate the chinuch of children. It shouldn't be a pure chinuch. So then it was the Russians, and now it's in America. In the name of democracy, they're trying to shepherd the chinuch of kids. Is the Rebbe Rashab was by an Asifa. All the Rabbanim were called to this meeting, talking about Daily Yisrael. And one of the Daily Yisrael that was called to this Asifa was the Reb Chaim Brisker, who was close with the Rebbe Rashab. And they went to this Asifa, and the government is saying we've got to change things, and the teachers have to start teaching this and teaching that, obviously to take out the Taras HaKodesh from the Chinuch. And the Rebbe Rashab got up and made a drasha and spoke against the government and said this is wrong, and he started putting a fight up. Well, he couldn't even put a fight with his hands, with his speech. It was a very powerful speech. It was a very powerful speech. And he was so overwhelmed in speaking with such fervor that he actually fainted. But they put him under house arrest. So he's been locked up in somewhere, wherever it was. Afterwards, when they left him free, they say he went back to his hotel, and Reb Chaim Brisker went along with him to his room. And he sees that the Rebbe Rashab is crying. So he says to the Rebbe Rashab, the Baba Rebbe, we've done everything we could. What else could we do? We've tried our best. If there's a but we tried our best. And the Rebbe Rashab's reply was, aber der Inyan hat sich nicht abgetan. The Inyan, we didn't accomplish. What's the difference what we did or we didn't? This is Rabbi Akiva and Avraham in the same thing. We did our best. Yeah, we had a Mesiras everything. Yes, but we didn't accomplish what we were looking to accomplish. That the Xeris should disappear, and that's what's bothering the Rosh. Therefore, he was upset with that itself. And the only way to continue is, as by the Fidik Rebbe, is to remember everything that's Hashgacha Pratis, and I think this is negate to every single person. Hashgacha Pratis. It's negate to every single person. Every person in his own life and his own inyanim has sometimes things which are not the way we would like, and we can sometimes get upset about it. The Eibusher should rearrange his world. And the famous word where they say the Baditsheva, the Helika Baditsheva once said, if I would be up there, I would do things differently. I would arrange these things. This guy should have panas, and this guy should have this. Everybody should have what they need. So the Baditsheva was Oiv Yisrael Lahafli. And the Alter Rebbe replied, but if I would be up there, I would do exactly the way it is now. In other words, when you're up there, you know the master plan, you know the artist's plan, you know every single detail, then you understand why it's like this. So to us, we sometimes see things that it doesn't seem to fit to the plan. You have to know that the Shittas of Hashem is Hashgacha Pratis, that every single detail, the minutest detail is Hashgacha Pratis. Does that mean that things cannot get better? Of course they can. But for that, you have to daven, for that you have to have bitochen, trachten, bezaimdut. But we always have to remember that everything is the deal the way it is in the Kabbana again. Anyway, Chaim.
What do you think? Tavshin Lamed Beis. Yes, coming to Shvat. Tavshin Lamed Beis.
Yeah.
Lamed Beis. He came to the Rebbe. There was a big bringing in Tavshin Lamed Beis.
Und der Rebbe hat gesagt, wer ist auch in der Russischen, der russischen Ligen. Das haben wir ausgestuft von dem Singen. Ива земля под утонем, и в огне мы не сгорим. Утонем, и в огне мы не сгорим. Der Rebbe sehr hebet an sich. Dann ging Patschen, also gemacht hat, wie ich habe gesagt, nie утонем. Im Wasser wir nicht ertrunken werden, Feuer will mir nicht verbrennt werden. Der Rebbe gemacht hat, wie ich nicht утонем, nur der Wort Patоним.
בכלל, למד בייס, זה הפורמה עבודה של בכלל.
Was ist die Quise? Aber der Rebbe gesagt, nie Patоним. Aber weil hebt dann so fast der erste, ja wohl gefunden zu werden.
Wenn ihr Viveni Kutaisi,
Ich bin gewesen in Kulasch.
in Kulasch, bei Mischpoche,
Und ich bin reingegangen, Nerv Schabes, und dort seien gesessen Kinder mit gesagt Philipp. Und ich verschwinde. Ich habe nicht gesehen, in Russland, aber 120 Kinder sind gesessen. Ich habe nicht gesehen. Aber ich weiß, dass ich ja
welke Joom?
Das ich weiß, dass ich gewähnt habe, dass in der in the nein, das ist gar nicht weil immer gewinnen auf der alle Schulen, der alle Kakamen, und der Kakam, Kakam wäre verhält, verhält. Gemacht hat Grosche Schabes, Schoes ist gerät. Er lebt, der Gedarschen, denke ich ja.
Er kommt zum Rennen, ja, mit Beis auch. Ist später.
When there are always other 57, in Samarkand, is er Yemel, wir haben verbracht, das ist gewesen Pesach. Der ganze Nacht ist verstorben. Der ganze Nacht ist verstorben. Till dort Nisim von Lager, gewaltig. Lager.
Isaiah is gesagt, a Pomo. Die Stammes, nur die Tanz in ganz Hause. Jeden Post da ist in der Gast nur die Tanz. Ja, du de Kulasche, du de Tschwil.
Das ist der Meister, der gewinnt in einem Fest. Wenn wir einmal schauen, wir reden am Schabbat, sagt mein, und sehr gefragt, wie ist sein Marschrut gekriegt, hat gesagt, rein von so Leben ist. Wir haben auf Schabbat, die Kuhlen, wir bleiben auf Schabbat, und hat mal gewinnt, der Maimer aus der Kabole. Der Wale, von Norwegen, geöffnet hat hier, der gesammelt, der Rebbe sitzt zu lernen. Und sagt, ich sage ein, es ist nichts tun. Guckt ab. Ist doch ein Test, wo gesessen 20 Jahre, kann man 100 Jahre. Und er gewinnt zum Reden, hat sagt erzählt etwas von Taten, erzählt der meisten. Hat bei mir gesagt, nu sind nicht gekommen, so können wir setzen, sagt ich bin da. Aber erzählt es nicht. 20 Jahre.
Welche Jungs gewinnt, als der Rebbe der Mann in der UN? Dachte ich auch lange weg, nicht? Der Rebbe gemacht hat, und der Nutze von ganz Russland gewinnt ein Gesehen, Brüder Kulasch, Brüder Butrashvili. Gewinnt, der Rebbe schon in Vostok. Immer Chavuse mit meinem Weg. Und dann haben wir oft gefragt, was sagt der Rebbe da in Mann? Sie sagt, zu dem Meister, wenn der Kommunisten kommen zu, ich bin in der Schule, ich bin der Erste, was wegzagt. Ja. Das ist der Erste, was? You were the first one who laid down.
Ich komme von Machen die Schule,
Ja.
Also die frühen, die Lektion von der Erde, wenn die Kinder nicht durchfahren und gar nicht. Aber der Erde haben sie gelernt. Aber der ganze, auf dem Gas, wo ist gespräch,
Sie werden nicht schreiben in Russland. Sie werden nicht schreiben in Russland. Ja, Kulasch, ja. Doch, verschiedene Belange von zum Leben nicht mehr zu stoppen. Es ist nicht so weit, um Kulasch zu stoppen. Und da schon keine mehr, und das Sophos, alle kann.
Aber Leser Mannes,
Ja.
habe ich noch verbracht, und der Rebbe Schab, und genommen Stiefels Leis, und sagt zu Lesern, Asher, Kichel am Aleiru. Ich bin ein größer Abschluss. Bin ich gewollt. Der Rebbe weiter gesagt, Kichel am Aleiru. Nur hat gemusst, verstanden zum Homopäcker werden. Und die Fläche sind die auch wo ist das? Ja.
Sie hat gesehen, als Schüler im Judaismus, als Schüler der Scheuche. Und nach Hause bleiben nicht was ist. Als Schüler, ich denke, das ist der erste Name. Als Schüler.
Wo hat gelernt?
Gelernt die Judaismus.
Ich bin gewöhnt, jemand reingefahren und gesucht, sie mir kennen, etwas auf dem Weg, weil der Regime von den Foren, der Erste.
Ja, wir haben nicht gesprochen, wie der Erste. Wenn der Erste, der gekommen Kinder zurück bei Stammung, habe ich noch sein. Der habe geschickt ein Ticket zu kommen auf der Tische auf Press. Und es ist interessant, ich finde es sehr damals verkommen. Also der angeben wegen zum Haben, also in Blude sich daran nach Sachen der Jüdischkeit, wo sie waren in der Zoll. Da wird Geld, also ich nehme mich da nicht schon mal Kloß in der Dom, mit der folgende schon mal Kloß. So, ist interessant machen, das hat mich jetzt. Auf Schien das ist schon so. Ja.
Das ist ganz recht.
Ja. da wird sie gegessen, nicht zu mischen in Nusach Atfilo, in der Minogim, und interessant.
Wees het niet zo. Iedere keer op de weg te zijn. Ja, iedere keer zou weg te zijn. Dus dan. Ik denk dat het alleen die staan van de dus ook. Dus als ik vier als ik iemand weet van de lezer. Dat weet ik van zijn vieren. Dat het zo. Dat het zag omkomen naar heen. De andere rekening.
Dat is wel weer like
Ja,
Also das ist noch nicht.
zeer breed. Zeer breed.
Aber wir sagen, das ist
erg als de komst van de hebben dan beslissen. Of hij is naar weg. Dat je doet. De eerste reden is aangevangen om de picture van de brem. Dus je bewust dat ze zijn heden. Dit zijn heden. Dat is oké, maar hop nog één. Nee. Heden zijn heden. Ja, dat is geschikt, maar dan is het gedaan. Ik ben niet weit.
Die ganze Nacht verbracht. Die ganze Nacht in die geschlafen. Und wenn Pesach, gedenke ich noch zur Nacht.
Pesach,
gegessen.
Mag ik kennen.
Kijk, de breedheid zijn er wel. Kinderen in school geworden. Met een uitspraak, maar niet.
Lezen aan het Zoll, lezen we niet. Ik denk nog in Jerusalem. Lezen we het. In Jerusalem, we hebben in Jerusalem.
Vergeet ze op Shabbos naar Little. De leuke Shabbos is dat het heel nice is. Dat was te hebben.
Zie. Ik denk dat mensen nemen samen. We brengen samen. Met voetpassen leven. Ja.
Because dat is in de bouw weer verdiend. Te leren. Heel shishi. Het bestaat in Israël. In Hampshire van Etten.
Und das hat mich gehabt in Zellen, Belgien, in Gesellschaft. Ja.
Wer is gewend zijn wij?
Stiefvater Berljot. Of van de woning, dat ik weer stoetsen met de
Aber ich meine, der einzige Dorf ist das Sachwasser mit Mesiras Nefesh. Sach. Also ein Gemankel von Jehupes. Es ist doch kein Teil mit Israel. Der ist gewonnen. Ja, das sagt mir. Ja. Ja, muss ich eine andere Sorte von Mesiras Nefesh. Der Pachad allein, wenn der Driver von Mesiras Nefesh. Aber das טוב, יש את הפחד, זה התחיל. זה עשה אחריך. אחריך. Ihr wisst, mein Seher schon, wenn sie auch gelasch. Der sagt, das zeigt mich im Eis. Gut von dem, ist noch ziemlich gern, das ist Ton. Der Bus hat der Physiker begeistert, also ich Ton, nur Giton, Posch. Unsere Chevre Heinz. Noch Fahrt noch Himmel Tag. What drives them? What drives them? As nicht nur der Muni ist, der Porsche sehen jeden Tag, sehen jeden Minute, das doch Gott ist nicht. Koach mit dem. Ich höre so viel Verschluch immer, so viel Nissen, Gnuim. Was haben das ist Sache, ich meine, das ist Sache. ובניכם אשר אמרתם לבא, אבי ירוי משם. שב יקומן, יתאף לשמוע את זה.
Was ist das?
זה כמו שב יקומן. תכף ומיד.
Was ist das?
איך יש סמיכה בשביל?
Ist er gespät vom Kurs? Nee.